Hey students, so today we're going to make a foldable for Xintercept. So you need one sheet of colored paper. Okay, and zoom out. So what I want you to do is I want you to fold the paper in half, so it's long ways, and you're going to fold it in half. Then open it back up and then fold to that crease you just made. Okay, so you want to fold it to that crease you just made and do the other side. Okay, then fold it open again and we're going to fold it the other way. So fold it in half the other way, long ways. And then open it up and fold to that crease that you made long ways. Okay, so do that. So when you open up your paper, you should have a bunch of squares, 16, okay? So now I want you to fold it. We're going to go the short way. We don't want the long way. So fold it inward just to that crease, like that. And then I need you to cut, take some scissors, and you want to cut that crease. So it makes a little flat. So cut all of them. And then cut on this side as well. Okay, so you should have one that looks like this, and you have little flaps. Okay, once you're done doing that, I want you to write down your flaps. I need you to pause the video and write these flaps down. So we're X-intercept, Y-intercept, graph, table, and equation. Okay? All right, now that you're back, we're going to talk about X and Y intercept. So the first one we're going to discuss is our X-intercept. Okay? So the X-intercept is where the graph crosses the X-axis. So it's where the graph crosses the X-axis. Okay? So what that means is when Y equals 0. Okay? So it's when Y equals 0. So you go on your X-axis and you find where it crosses, and that's your X-intercept. Okay? Some other names that we call X-intercept, okay, you'll hear these other names. Are solutions. We may call it solutions. Okay, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so y'all can see that. Okay, solutions, roots. It may ask you for the roots. That means X-intercept. Zeros and solution sets. Okay, so those are just other names that mean X-intercept. So if I say I'm looking for the roots, then I'm asking you for the X-intercept. If I say I'm looking for the zeros, I'm asking for the X-intercept. Okay, so now let's look at the graph. The graph of an X-intercept. So again, we just said that the X-intercept is where the graph crosses the X-axis. So we're just going to write that again. So it's the graph crosses the X-axis. Okay? Or it touches the X-axis. If you like the word touches better, so it's cross or touches the X-axis. Okay? So if I draw a graph, okay, So I'm going to draw this graph right here. Okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. My x-intercept is where it touches or crosses the x-axis. So it touches and crosses right there. Okay? So that ordered pair is 4, 0. Remember, the y is always 0 on the x-axis. Okay? So this is our x-intercept. Okay? Because that's where it crosses or touches the x-axis. Okay? So now, that's it for graph. So now for table, let's look at a table. If I had a table, okay? So if we look at the graph, it's when y is 0, right? That's where our x-intercept is. So it's the same thing for the table. If I go to the table and I look, I want to know where y is 0, and that is my x-intercept. Okay? So this right here would be my x-intercept because the y is 0. Okay? So my x-intercept is 4, 0. Okay? Because I'm looking for when y is 0. So for a table, you look for when y equals 0. I'm looking for when y equals 0 for the table. Okay? Same thing with the graph. You know, with the graph, my y is 0. So from the table, my y has to be 0. Okay? The equation we're not going to do today. We'll do that later. So now we're going to move on to the y-intercept. So if the x-intercept is where the graph, if the x-intercept is where the graph crosses the x-axis, the y-intercept is going to be, you guessed it, where it crosses the y-axis. Okay? So where the graph crosses the y-axis. Okay? So what does that mean? That means, good job, when x is 0. Okay? So this time we're looking for when x is 0. And there's not any other names for y-intercept. Okay? So let's move on to graph. So graph, if we have a graph, so I'm going to draw a graph, quick graph. Okay. For the x-intercept, we looked for when it crossed the x-axis. So for the y-intercept, we're going to look for when it crosses the y-axis. Good job. So where it crosses the y-axis is right here. And so that would be my y-intercept, which is, if we start at 0 and we go down 3, so it's 0, -3. Because remember, our x is 0 here. So for graphing, go over to your little tab. It's where the graph crosses or touches the y-axis. Okay? And again, x is always equal to 0. Okay? For y-intercept, your x is always equal to 0. So now let's look at a table. Okay, so we're going to draw our little table. Okay, so when we're looking at a table, we're looking for when, well, just like the graph, so at the graph, it was x equals 0. So when we're looking at the table, we want to see when x is 0. And so we see x is 0 right here. So this would be my y-intercept. Okay, so this is my y-intercept. Okay, so my y-intercept is 0, 3. So you're looking on the table for when x equals 0. Okay, so on a table, when we're trying to find the y-intercept, we look for when x equals 0. Okay? All right, again, we're going to do equations another time, so we will not do this in this video. So that is it for this video. Now go and practice and have a great day.